Well, good morning. How are you all today? Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. It is time for some tough love from old Uncle Steve. A lot of you need to hear this. Some of you don't. Some of you could give this lesson yourself. And so if that's you, I hope that you'll listen and go ahead and corroborate what I'm about to tell some of these people who do need to hear it. And if you are willing to listen to some hard truth, this is going to help you. All right. I was going to make a different one. A matter of fact, I'll make it after I'm done with this. And that is the possibility of a race war, hate war coming. And there is a possibility of that. I'll tell you why I think so. And it comes from good sources. But this came up. I happened to see that the title of a video of another channel, and it was, I think it is Appalachia Homestead with Patera. She puts out some good stuff. And I said I'm not recommending any more channels, but I just happened to see this one, and and the title of it was, what was it? It was Americans are giving up because of lack of jobs. And she gave some good advice, but she was nicer than I may be, because if you know me, I tend to say things pretty straight, because I do not baby people. I don't like whiners. I don't like complainers. I like doers. And the only difference between a doer and a whiner is what they've decided to do or not do. You know the old saying, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. It all starts with what you're willing to do and what you take responsibility for. Well, anyway, that was the title of that, and I won't get into and step on her video, but it reminded me of a couple of comments that I got just in the last couple of days. I get them all the time, to be honest. I get them all the time, and I take them off because I don't allow that drivel on this channel. But I said something the other day on one about, hey, times are going to be good or bad depending on you. You're going to make the decision that determines what your life becomes. I don't give a darn what's happening in the world around you. It's up to you to make your life good or let it be bad. And did you notice the difference there? Make it or let it. That's the difference. I had a couple of comments. Somebody said, well, I think what I said was, you have to go out and get it. Too many people sitting around waiting for things to happen for them, waiting for good stuff to happen, waiting for Uncle Sugar to come bring their stuff, or waiting for this or waiting for that. God made you to get out and do things. He didn't make you to sit around and wait, except for him. You wait on him. You let him guide you. But once he did, if he says, hey, it's up to you, buddy, you get out there and do it. I've told you what to do, and I get out there and do it. And one of the things that he has told you to do, and you don't need to sit around and listen for him, is to be responsible for your own welfare and the welfare of those who depend on you. Okay? So if you're a man or if you're a woman, it is your responsibility to get out there and participate in the world, not sit around and be a victim. Okay, so I said get out there and get it. So I get this comment from somebody, and it'll have a few words and then ... and a few words and ... and a few words and ... as if to make us somehow I don't know. Here, let me be clear about this. It's saying you can't go out there and get something if there's nothing to get. And just on and on. I go, oh, good Lord. You talk about a failure attitude. Tell me you're a failure without telling me you're a failure. Isn't that right? Because there's nothing out, you can't go out and get something if there's nothing to get. Pal and everybody else listening, there is plenty to get out there. There is plenty to get out there. You know why we don't still live in Europe? For those of us who are of European descent, because people came over here to make a better life for themselves. Now, why would they do that? Because they figure that they could do something, they could do better someplace else than where they were. You know why we don't all live on the East Coast? Because people thought, I think I can go somewhere else and do better. Either I can get some land, or I can build a railroad, or I can go out and open a coal mine, or whatever it is, And then I know there were others had to come and work in the coal mines, right? You know the difference between the one who established the coal mine and the one who worked in the coal mine? A whole lot of difference, but it all started up here. And it wasn't all luck. I had another comment just today. Well, I probably put on last night. I woke up today and I checked comments to get rid of all the idiots. And it said something like, yeah, well, you Mr. High and Mighty, saying that people ought to get out there and do it. You just wait until everything falls apart. And these people that you're telling they need to get up and do better, they don't have as far to fall as you do, so you just wait. I'm waiting. Years ago, Kelly and I both worked for a newspaper, a major newspaper, Kansas City Star. I was a DM, district manager, and she was a carrier. And and when I saw how much more carriers made than district managers, I quit my job as a district manager and I became a carrier. And Kelly and I, this is right after we got married, we started picking up a lot of these. Now she had a route with the Star, and so I would help her with that. But then we picked up a whole lot of contracts with these, these free papers that used to be around all the time. You just throw one in everybody's driveway. And so we picked up a lot of contracts. We were making, let's see, this was like in 2003, something like 2002, 2003, something like that. We were making 10 to 12 grand a month, just driving around in our cars. Now, I mean, it was, and bagging these things and throwing them. It was, not hard work. It was not big, heavy work, but it's tiring work. We never got any sleep. We were building up. We were making money to buy a house and to start a family and things like that. And within 2 days, now we threw almost, because we had a whole lot of contracts for a whole lot of different papers and magazines and stuff like that. And we worked pretty much every day. We had Sundays off, that we'd go to church and fall asleep in church and go home and fall asleep. But for the most part, we were working every day. And in one 2 day period, we would throw something like 18,000 papers. There's a point to this story. Hang with me. 18,000. You know how much? I mean, it got to the point that my right elbow wouldn't work, her shoulder wouldn't work. Throwing 18,000 times, bagging of paper, loading them all up in your van. And in my excursion, I had my excursion back there, until that thing, the hitch, the trailer hitch, was almost dragging the ground there. It was so heavy. And we'd start off, and we'd go through, we went through cities in Kansas and Missouri and everywhere, and that whole van, and because I ran the van, she ran the excursion, both of them full of newspapers, and smelling that ink and all that newspaper dust, and we reach back there, pop a bundle and stuff while we threw and stuff and throw and stuff and throw, and you do that all night long. And you start at about 7 o'clock in the evening, and in some cases, and you're still out there at noon the next day, and then you get a few hours sleep and you do it again. Well, we were working, and another route came out open because somebody wasn't doing their job right. We told the guy who we contracted through, we'll take it. Now there was this other carrier, and it was a woman that had worked for me when I was a DM at the Star, and she was worthless. And she never got her route done on time, always whining, always complaining, always this, always that. And when she found out that we had gotten this, because she wanted this other route, she wanted this route that came open. Now, she wasn't going to do the job, she just wanted the money. She's probably going to go dump the papers. And she wanted that, but when we got that account, You know what she said? She called us greedy. That's right. The one who won't do it, calling the one who will do it greedy. That is a major problem amongst a lot of people today, and I'm sad to say that I see it too often in the comment sections on these channels. Well, you can't make it out there. There's no money. There's no jobs. There's no this. There's no that. Life ain't fair. These people aren't going to make it. Number one, if there was, and I'm fond of saying, I've said it for years. Some people need a real problem in order to give them perspective on what a real problem is. You know, they'll get up whining because they're still alive. Oh no, I can't believe I'm still alive and I'm sleepy and life sucks. My cup of coffee is delicious. I'm sitting on my front patio looking out at a neighborhood that's beautiful. Life doesn't suck if you don't make it suck. Do you know, and I've said this before, in America, you have to try to fail. You have to try. You have to be determined to fail in order to fail in America. I don't care what kind of economy is going on. I don't care about anything except do what it takes. And most people, I don't know why these people watch preparedness videos. Well, I think I do. I think I do. Because, and I'm speaking, if you find yourself in this position, I don't care if I'm making you mad or not. You probably need to get upset. I'm trying to help you. And I'll say this. I don't have any hope that it's going to help most of the people, but I'm going to try to help the 1 out of 100 who it might. Stop the whining and crying and poor meing that is holding you down into a horrible life, a life of failure. Stop being a failure. You know why people are failures? Either they won't do anything, or they keep doing something that is not successful. That's a major problem. I see a lot of people who do a lot of work, a lot of busyness, but just never seem to get ahead. And it's because they've chosen something that just doesn't make them money. But they have this idea that they ought to be able to do whatever they want or whatever they love or whatever they feel they're chosen to do. And regardless of the fact that they're staying poor. Now, I mean, if you want to stay poor, that's your business, you know. Too many of these people hang on that blessed are the poor, you know, out of the Beatitudes. They totally miss the reason, the meaning of that. I'll insert it right here for everybody that wants to use the Bible to excuse their inaction and failure. When Jesus said, blessed are the poor in spirit, he didn't mean blessed are the poor, we're going to bless him in spirit. He said, blessed are the poor in spirit. Poor in spirit means humble. Okay? He didn't say blessed are the poor. There is nothing particularly blessed about being poor. There is nothing to be proud of to be poor. Now, like I've said before, there's nothing to be ashamed of to be poor unless it's the result of your own damn laziness. In which case, you ought to be ashamed. But other than that, let's move on. I could go down a road a ways, but too many people, if you're failing in what you're doing, do something else. If there's no jobs where you are, stop complaining and go where there are jobs. That's why so many people came to the cities during the Depression. You know, you've heard. I know that it's a big issue. That during the Depression, the farms did better because they grew the food, and in many cases that's true. And the old stories about, I remember guys used to come by the back of the house, and my mom would make them a sandwich, and I know I said that wrongly on purpose. I joke about that. They would make them a sandwich, named after the Earl of Sandwich. Did you know that? And the Sandwich Islands. No, they weren't invented on the Sandwich Islands. But a lot of people went to the cities because that's where, number one, government help after a while, and then that's where the jobs were. Okay. I know a lot of people won't do that. A lot of people stay trapped out there where there's no jobs and continue to take government assistance or continue to whine. That was Patera's point. Americans are giving up. Think about that for a minute. Think about that phrase. Americans are giving up. What did we used to think about the spirit of Americans? Right? Get her done. We can do it. We're going to go out there and make something happen. And then what Americans are giving up because there's no jobs? Because you live in a place where there's no jobs. Move. I wasn't a fan of Sam Kinison. That was his name, Kinison. I didn't like it. I didn't need the screaming. I didn't need the profanity and all that. But he said something that was exactly right. And I'm going to apply this to these people who are giving up because there's no jobs. And then I'm going to say something. I'm going to tell you where to find a job, all right? He had this stint, and he said, he's talking about these you know, they go over to Africa, and they film all these people walking 10 miles with a jug on their head to find water, and the kids with the flies all over them and things like that. I'm not being unkind. I'm just painting the picture so you get it, right? And he said, for crying out loud, he says, we have deserts, but we don't live in them. Right? If you're in a job desert, move. Well, I don't want to move. This is where I'm from. This is where okay. Then stop complaining. You know, I was telling my wife, Kelly, about this. And when I told her the title of this, about Americans are giving up because there's no jobs. First off, there's plenty of jobs. There are plenty of jobs. You just have to go somewhere they are. But her first reaction was also one of my first reactions, and that is create a job. Create a job. We've worked for ourselves most of the time. There's been occasions that we worked for other people. For the most part, we create things. You know what I did? Many of you know this. When people were asking me how to prepare, I wrote books about it. Books. It started with 1, and now I'm working on number 8. That's how I make my living now. I'm not saying you have to write books, and I'm not saying that I'm any big deal. What I'm saying is you can figure it out. You can do it. So do it. And stop complaining and stop whining. You know, if you're... Would you like to know how to get these wonderful books? From this mean guy who's being so mean to people. You know, there's a point at which understanding people and their failure is simply, what do they call it? Well, it's not helping them, okay, at all. It's enabling them. Oh yeah, enabling them. They are addicted to failure, and when you excuse their failure, you are enabling them. In other words, you want them to continue to fail. I don't want anybody to continue to fail. If you're failing, I don't want you to fail. Get up off your ass and go do something. Okay? I'm not even going to tell you how to get these books because I'm not here to sell. Okay? But that's one of the ways I did it. We have other business. We're always thinking about other ways. And you know, it's not that we're greedy, it's that we're responsible. And that we know the world doesn't owe us anything. Yeah, the links are down below if you want to buy the books. It'll change your life. It will change the way you prepare, and it will change the lives of many of you who read it. I've been told that many times, all over the world. Ever since 2017, my book's been selling all over the world, and they have helped thousands and thousands of people who need it. That's not for me to say that I'm all that. What's to say is I did something, and it can help you. Take it or leave it. Yeah, you're just... I can see, I can hear, I can imagine the comments I'm going to get on this. I'm going to get all sorts of hate. You're so lucky. Not everybody has everything, you know. Get up off your ass and do something. And the so-called preparedness world is so full of this absolute crap. But you don't understand. But life is hard. I can't go out and get something if there's nothing to get. Plenty of people out here getting a lot. We went on the homes tour, the home parade, yesterday because my son, my oldest son, guess what? He's 18 and he's getting into real estate. He does more things than many of you out there. Not you, but that guy hiding behind you that's mad at me for saying these things. We're going through the what is it, home parade or whatever it is. Well, every year they put up the new houses that the developers and builders have put together. Everybody goes through them, and goes ooh, and a lot of people, would go to look house. There is new housing development. You can't believe it. You cannot believe the building that is going around here. And you know what somebody's going to say right now? Some of these losers out there are going to say, yeah, but those people, they're all doing it on credit. They're all doing it on this. They're all doing it on that. They're going into debt, and the borrower is slave to the lender, and I would never do. They're buying more house than they can afford. How do you know that? First off, they're not. There's a lot of people making a lot of money. And you know what? They're not cheaters. They're not the uber rich that are taking advantage. They're not rich because they're taking money away from the poor. You've heard that one? Yeah. These people, I can't get ahead because the rich are taking all my money. You don't have any money. The rich are rich because they create wealth. They create jobs. I told you the story about a cousin of mine who's she's retired now, full professor of economics at one of the big schools. She didn't know how jobs were created. It took me 5 minutes to explain. It took me 30 seconds to explain to her how jobs were created. After a half an hour, she still didn't get it because she was a specialist in welfare programs. Yeah. A specialist in failure. So anyway, we're out on these houses. I was talking to the realtor. She says, our inventory, which means the number of houses for sale, she says is lower than it ever has been before. But more houses are being built. But what? They're selling so fast. Now we are talking about houses from $1 million to $2 million. Now I know right now a lot of people out there going, what? There's no way. That's not even the world I live in. Well, let me ask you this. Who's building the houses? Maybe you can't afford one of those houses. Maybe you don't want to. Doesn't matter. You're not. There's nothing wrong if you can't afford one. We're not measuring things by how much money you have. We're measuring things by what you are doing about your situation. But you know who's building those houses? People who are working on those houses. Framers, carpenters, sheetrockers, painters, cement workers, excavators, all these things. And they are making buku bucks. And so and then landscapers and all these other things. And then with the city and the county and the inspectors and the this and the that, there are so many jobs being created. Maybe you don't want $1 million house. Doesn't matter if you can afford it or not. That's not what I'm talking about. You want a job? Come get a job. Or you can give up and continue whining in the comment sections of all the preparedness channels. You know what? It just occurred to me. So let me throw this thought in there. Can you tell how disgusted I am? I'm sure you can. If you're new to me, I hope that you, well, I don't care. But yeah, I tell it like it is. Adults don't need to be patted on the head, or shouldn't need to be patted on the head and said, that's okay, I know life's hard, I know, it's not your fault. That's what you do with a 2-year-old who spilt his milk, not with an adult who shouldn't have time to complain. You shouldn't have time to complain. If you ain't making it, why are you spending your time watching videos and commenting? Go out and get a job. Go out and do something. Go out and cut firewood and sell it. I don't care what you do. Go do something. There's plenty to do. And now that thought that I just had has completely exited my mind. No, it hasn't. It just came back. So let me share this with you. Do you know, I don't see any other type of channel. Oh, well, yes, I do. I was about to say I don't see any other type of channel to where it's so full of whining and complaining and failure as the preparedness channels. But yes, I do. One are race-based channels that are whining about how unfair life is to them because of their race. Another are, and Kelly, I don't watch these, but Kelly watches. She gets a kick out of these things. There's a couple of channels, women's channels, who are whining and complaining about, the male patriarchy and how unfair life is, and the women's libbers, the feminists, the victims. You see, the people here, and I think pretty much everybody with a brain and a backbone understands the insanity of the victim mindset. And anybody who primarily identifies themselves through their victimhood as being bizarre and a real psychological problem. And it's amazing to me that I see it so often here in the preparedness world. So I know that those people are not preppers. And I certainly know they're not PMPs, preparedness-minded people, because they're not out there doing anything. But I tell you what, when somebody is whining and complaining, you're not doing them any favors by saying, "Oh, I know. Oh, yeah, it's terrible. Okay." And so that's I'm here to help. Dr. Steve. Stop whining and get out there and do something. Do something. I don't care what your situation is, because I know that I'm going to get, but you don't understand. I can't do it because of blah, blah, blah. I don't give a damn what your blah, blah, blah is. You can do something. And if you're not doing it, shame on you. And there's probably a whole lot of other people that want to hear your sad song, but I don't. I would like to hear a happy song from you. And you know the only way you're ever going to sing a happy song? Get out there and do something. Make something of yourself. Do something worthwhile. Help somebody else. Be responsible for your own well-being, for your own support. And then you'll be able to come back and say, you know what? I stopped whining and started doing something. Who knows? Maybe you can help somebody else. All right? Is that enough? Tough love. I know. The truth hurts, doesn't it? Can you handle the truth? Because you just got a double scoop. All right. If you want to read positive books, they're down there. I don't even want this video. I don't even want to include my books in this message too much, because they're just too positive. Because the people who needed to hear this, well, they need to read my books. If you want to, the links are down below. But you know what? They cost money. Oh, here's another thing. If you really cared about people, you wouldn't charge people money. Oh, okay. Well, they cost money, so you probably won't read them, although you should. But you just got a free message for which you paid nothing. We'll see what you're going to do with it. For everybody else, remember, Uncle Steve really isn't a bad guy. Uncle Steve wants to help. But Uncle Steve can't stand whining. And we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. You all have a great day, or a miserable day if you're determined to. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.